It's the city citizens that are feeling the impact of the urban renewal revenue being lost to the general fund. The library district folks get to use our amenities at the library, but they don't feel the same impact. The other problem is people never got the chance to vote on it. They didn't get a chance to vote when the urban renewal district was started. They haven't got a word to say about any project that we've done with those funds since. And respectfully, Penny, the bonding issue can be resolved, actually. Estacada just built a library. Was that 3 weeks or so ago when we were in Estacada for the CCA dinner? And the counselors there were very proud of their building. They have a lovely building, although it's only one story. But they went to the folks. They have an urban renewal district, but they went to the citizens and got a bonding for a library building, and they did a special district. The library district is paying for that library.
That's because it happened prior to the library district, and they made a special arrangement. That option is no longer available.
It'd be interesting to see if we can work something out. That's the feeling is, why are we going to build a building with the city citizens paying for it, and they're the only ones that are paying for it? The swimming pool deals with it with a difference in fees. So maybe there'd be something that we can look at in that aspect. The other issue I have revolves around the operation budget. And I think that Third Avenue option, well, that speaks to another thing. Hold on. A 2-floor building with shared space for the city services. I like the addition of CTV5 also being able to use that. That would eliminate them having to have that space down there further down Second. Would reduce the cost to the general fund. We're currently giving $70,000 a year to the library in its current shape and form. A new building is going to cost more to run. I think consolidating the city services would reduce costs in the general fund, that we'd be able to have a little more comfortable, a little more comfort in trying to pay for all of the services in the city. The third area is the location. I think Third Avenue is a far better option. I have for a long time. These conversations aren't really anything new. It's just that they weren't really listened to before. They were falling on deaf ears a year and a half ago when we were first talking to this subject. Some of the numbers that I have, and I realize that we wouldn't be able to acquire properties based on the tax assessed values that are on county websites. But you can get a good idea of what they're worth and what they would be worth in tax revenue. And if they currently, the way the buildings are currently sitting in this shape and form, if we had private sector businesses in all these properties on 1st and 2nd Avenue, we would be getting revenue, which we're not right now from the city. And these properties are worth more right now as they sit than the 3rd Avenue properties are. So we would get more tax revenue for properties being on 2nd Avenue, or businesses being on 2nd Avenue, than we are for the businesses that are on 3rd Avenue. And that's not taking into account any redevelopment. You redevelop the area, it's going to be worth more. There'd be even more tax revenue to the city. So I think that yes, it would cost more to construct, as we've talked about, but the long-term benefit to the community and the revenue to the city, I think, needs to be weighed in. And there's other collateral costs I've mentioned before, I mean, things that aren't included in the budget, but are real costs in the library project, and that would be the $72,000 a year to move CAT. We wouldn't have to be in a big rush to move them right away. If we were on 3rd Avenue, they could sit until we figure out a better option for them and not have to move them into something that costs them $72,000 a year in rent. The dozing of the building we've already paid $600,000 for with urban renewal money. Wouldn't necessarily have to happen if we didn't build a building on this block. And we don't know the cost for temporary location of city admin, but that would be something, even if we did it on 3rd Avenue, there would be some temporary housing, and I know that. That's my other point. No, I have too many notes. I'm sorry. I think that's it to the issue. There's a couple of points I would like a minute to make, if I could, just to clarify some misinformation that has been going around town, and I just thought that for the sake of the cameras, for folks who couldn't be here, it would be helpful to clarify. there are some folks in the town that think they did vote on a library. And I wanted to put this information out. November 2008, Measure 3-310 was voted on by the people, and yes, it passed. We created a county library district that included 13 cities at the time: Barlow, Canby, Estacada, Gladstone, Happy Valley, Laco, Milwaukee, Molalla, Oregon City, River Grove, Sandy, Westland, and Wilsonville. And then in 2011, 2 more cities were added, bringing it to 15 when we added Damascus and Tualatin. Now, this was a district that funds cities that are operating libraries. This is operating funds. It's not for a new building. It does include the $1 million that we talked about for capital improvements, but and nowhere did you vote for a new building. So I wanted to make that clarified. And the other thing is that we have been discussing this for a long time. And some people might think we've been discussing it for too long. But I just wanted to make a note that as recently as May of this year, in several Facebook threads, I have seen people who aren't even aware we're planning a library at this point. So that tells me maybe we aren't discussing it enough, and speaks more to one of my goals, and I think Commissioner Parker's goals, is to improve communication in the city. Because if you're at this late date and don't know we're planning a library, we have something missing here. And the third piece is the public process. There's been a lot of boasting about a grandiose effort in gaining public input. We did have 3 public meetings, and I appreciate every single person who came to those meetings. But before we go on boasting about attendance and how very well attended they were, I just wanted to share some numbers from my notes on those meetings. In the first meeting, 26 people attended, and 18 of them were electeds or city staff or members of boards and committees in the town, Friends of the Library, etc., leaving 8 average citizens coming to share their views or figure out what's going on with the new library. The second meeting, we had 36 attend, where 21 fit into that category, leaving 15, and the third meeting, 34 attended, where 22 fit into those categories, leaving 12. 5 people attended more than one meeting, leaving 30 names that were unique. 30 people in 3 meetings out of 16,000 came to share. I don't call that a huge amount of public input. That's all I have for the moment.
I'll just make one general comment about the communication. There can never be enough communication. That is given.
That is true.
Whatever happens. But since I've been on the council, I figured the other night we have had over 160 Wednesday night meetings that's on OCTS. The Canby Herald reports many of them that CTV5 has. And I had people come up to me at the library at 4th of July and said, "Are we building a new library?" And they live in the community. Well, we have been following that. I don't follow that stuff. I don't take local papers. I don't know how you reach them.
I don't either.
Anyway.
That's the problem.
Yeah, wow, what a ride it's been. I also am very concerned about the operational cost. I really like 2 stories to help get that. Presiding over the budget committee this year was a bit of an eye-opener to get into depth. I'm very concerned about going forward how we continue to operate a new building. It will cost more. We've heard a lot of numbers tossed around in terms of 3 to 5 times more than the current building. That all comes out of general fund. And I remember a couple of years ago, a lot of the council was very concerned about building something that we could not operate or would have to scale back to minimal hours to meet our library district standards just to get the operating money. And some of us even talked about cops versus books, very uncomfortable discussion. I think, in fact, we hit that last year. I wasn't quick enough to figure it out until someone pointed it out to me, but the 70, we asked all the general fund departments to trim by 2% of the budget, I understand, this year in order to make it balance and to hit the contingency levels that we wanted. And the police personnel cost budget, if you take 2% of that, it's about $72,000. And we gave 70,000 into the library to keep it at its contingency and operating goals. That won't get better. And it's all hydraulic in general funds. We didn't lay anyone off, but we did take from other departments to make that happen. Now, the library's not the only department that operates in the red. There are others. But that's half of the graveyard sergeant that our city needs, and we do not have. So that's my operational spiel. My other is, like Councilor Hensley, urban renewal is a powerful tool. I've said that over and over. My main problem, I don't mind using it, but my problem with it is it doesn't require consent of the debtor. And I know Councilor Hensley is very opposed to purely civic projects using urban renewal. It's distasteful for me. You can get me there if the debtor approves. Then you have an informed electorate going, we get it, heads up, we're incurring the debt, we understand that it will affect police and fire and schools and Clackamas Community College. We get it, that's part of the mortgage. So Commissioner Hodson's plan, I like it. I think it's the right way to go. I can't speak to why it didn't get vetted under previous administrations. I'm an engineer. His plan scares me. A lot of his plans do because they're bold and they're right. They are expensive. It is a hard, difficult path to go. It is a lot of work to go to an electorate and make your case and get the money and get bonding. But best solutions usually are challenging. They are not the path of least resistance, and they take a lot of work. Canby's never been afraid of challenge. Canby Utility's never been afraid of challenge. Both have often been called Davids in the face of Goliaths in the past. I really like Commissioner Hodson's plan. I know that there's another option that's been out there a lot. I have been hit with it many times to do something much more modest on 3rd Avenue with the money we have, incur no additional debt. And so our current plan is somewhere between those two. But regardless of what plan we go with, I would want to see it go to the electorate. We have been advised by a bond attorney that it would be purely an advisory vote. We are operating within our administrative capacity, making the decisions we had. But I think it's an opportunity for Canby to demonstrate leadership to Clackamas County and the state of Oregon at a time when urban renewal is under attack by taxpayers, to demonstrate leadership that even though we have the money in hand already, we've already purchased it, we're not afraid to make our case to the voters and ask their approval, ask their permission, ask their blessing to spend the money, even though we already have it. It's kind of like when a family has a savings account and they already have the money, and you have family meeting and you say, I'm the dad, but are you all in for spending it on this or on that? So whatever plan we go with, that's something I want, is to make our case to the voters, even if we already have every nickel of it, and get their blessing.
I would agree with Commissioner Dale in that the voice of the people is absolutely 100% the most important thing. And I would see that as a good compromise. I personally don't want to spend a nickel of urban renewal money on civic projects, but if the electorate said, yeah, no, it stinks that we have to do it that way, but yes, let's do it, then I would be 100% behind the project going forward, and we'd build the best darn project we could. And honestly, this, I've said before, is a project that's supposed to bring the community together, and it's been the most divisive thing we've seen yet. And I think that with each side believing they're in the majority, this would be the perfect way to settle it. Everybody would clearly see who's in the majority, and peace can be brought. We can reunite our community into the sleepy little town that we want it to be, or not so sleepy, depending on your habits.
Well, but then, so Sorry, Rich. You were
Go ahead.
No, Mike. So is it a current plan to the voters? Is
Fair
it?
question.
Well, let me ask that question in just a
Okay.
minute. Let me hear from Ken, and if Greg has a comment before we.
I'd like to ask the expert panel, if we put this off to the nearest time we could bring it to the voters, how does that affect the contracts, the ongoing, can that be put on hold until the time that the voters could vote? I'd like to have a opinion.
You're talking about the
There ought to
existing
be.
plan.
Yes.
The,
Pause button.
yeah, I mean, we can kind of turn off, stop your team. You always have built-in inefficiencies, you know, when you have a large team of people aiming at a goal who are motivated, and you tell them to stop, and then you know, at some point, get them started again. So there's some inefficiency in that. I think the main impact, and maybe Frank, you can talk to this more, is that the economy is gradually heating up. Project will never be less expensive to build than it is now. So however long it's put off, there's going to be at least a certain amount of inflation, you know, escalation, that's what Frank will call it, that is added and will impact what your money can buy you. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's like I said, our contracts only have termination clauses. They don't have suspension of work clauses. When you get into construction, you're into suspension of work, because that oftentimes is what you have to do sometimes. It's not to say that the contracts couldn't or, you know, shouldn't be modified. That may be a possibility, but I think that's something that you'd have to check with your council. With regards to going out for a vote, I don't know whether or not there'd be a 75-day, I believe, period of time to get something on the ballot as far as vote.
Well, there's
Is that true?
only certain dates you can go to sue.
September.
Well, the urban renewal district can't refer an item to the voters.
City council.
Has to.
Okay.
Second, if you hold a special election, which is neither November nor May, then you have to pay for it. I don't know the cost of that. You have to ask Kim to do some research.
I believe the last time that we asked that question, Kim, it was like 4,000 minimum.
Yeah.
4 to 6, I think is what she
4 to
said.
6,000.
It's pretty modest.
That's modest.
And again, let me just go back to the whole suspension. We would only suspend them assuming that we were talking about the exact same project.
Yes.
If we're not talking about the same project, they would all be released from their contracts, and we would have to go out to bid and start completely all over. And they may not be the same groups that are here.
Sure, understood.
I think perhaps one other issue with such a vote that the council might want to consider is that, as our legal counsel said, it would not be binding. Part of why we're in the situation we find ourselves today is a vote was taken in August by a council. Council, some members have changed, some did not vote for it at the time, and the discussion continues. So the question members of the community might have for such a vote is, this group might be in unanimity in saying, we are going to put something before the voters, and whatever the voters say was what we will do, but it is not legally binding. By the time the election occurs, it could be a different council. So I think that there's some issues in terms of creating expectations with the community if you are asking people to vote on something for which it's not a binding vote, it's only advisory, and you would want to think very carefully about that.
Ken, do you have more? Greg, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, I appreciate the fact that the discussion tonight has been one of policy, and that we've taken the emotion out of it. I ache for the pain that this has caused people, and those who agree with me that the Second Avenue appears to be the better option, encourage them also to join with me in turning down the emotion on this. I think what we have in front of us is a policy decision. And in order to move ahead with either idea, any or all, it doesn't have to be perfect. It only needs 4 votes. And we can parse out the load-bearing issues. We can parse out whether it's fair that people outside of Canby use the library but wouldn't pay a bond. we can go into any number of details. But, we spent about an hour and a half here, and I'm ready for a motion that whatever effort of man is never perfect. It only exists in our dreams and in heaven. So let's pick one that has 4 votes and put this behind us.
Could I,
Yeah, Clint?
just one more thing, if I could. I get the impression that some folks feel like this community hasn't heard about this library project, and, there are quite a number of meetings, public meetings, soliciting input. I'd be curious to know how many citizen hours were put into the time for those meetings. I too was in the budget meetings, and one of the things that I gleaned from that was how I think our biggest focus should be on building out the industrial park, because I think that if we can do that, we can pay for these things. But at the same time, just as in your own residential neighborhood, you have to invest in your community. Absolutely do. And there is no perfect project. I mean, if we were to wait for the perfect situation on First Avenue, it would have never gotten done. Perfect situation in Industrial Park, it would have never gotten done. The Plan B that I'm hearing talked about is kind of a leap of faith and a 40 to 50% more expense. And if you were to put that to the voters, 8.5 million or maybe 15, I mean, you got to know where that's going to come out. And this is a very well thought out plan. It's had incredible amount of citizen input. We have to invest in ourselves if we want to attract citizens to stay in this community, citizens to move to this community, and the industry to move to our community. So I think if we move ahead with confidence, our best days are in front of us.
Okay, well, I see 2 options, maybe 3, depending on how you count. We can, this evening, as the Urban Renewal Agency, we can have a motion to stop the project in its tracks. We can have a motion to stop the project and explore another option, or we can take no action and move ahead, and tomorrow morning everybody comes to work and continues on what they're doing. So,
Is there also the option to refer to city council for a referendum?
well, why would you do that if you're not, if you're not supporting the Second Avenue location, and if you're going to explore another option like Third Avenue, you're going to refer it to the voters if you're of that opinion. My personal opinion is that when I was elected to this council, there were 5 people that ran for the office and 3 of us got elected. And we were elected to do the business of the city and make the decisions within the city charter for the city. And that's what I think we should do. I don't think we should punt on a referral. If you're going to have an election, have it be a bond issue or something that has some consequence to it. But if any of you read the tax court ruling, Judge Breitkamp, I think is his name, regarding TriMet versus Clackamas County of about 10 days ago, it had to do with the advisory vote that Clackamas County took on whether or not to continue with TriMet, and the county commission was going to stop the prior commission's commitment to funding the light rail in the Milwaukee area, and he struck down the commission's position because the vote was advisory. It was not mandatory. It didn't change the commitment, the contracts that had been signed. And you're doing the same thing here.
Are there contracts I'm not aware of? We've already talked about the contracts, the encumbrances. We've already discussed that as being about, was 6% of the budget. We already are counting that as a loss. I don't see how it is the same thing. We're not trying to get out of a contract.
A majority of this body authorized to move ahead with this project. And having the voters say, you did right or you did wrong is immaterial. The project is still moving ahead unless you stop it or change it. And that's what I think you should do.
Rich?
Then I'll put forth a motion that we stop the Second Avenue project, and either continue with a different conversation another time. Yeah, that's my motion.
You begin discussion without a second, then it becomes a motion.
Okay, the motion, there's a motion to stop Second Avenue project on the floor. Is there a second?
For sake of discussion and understanding the full motion, I'll second.
Okay, so Commissioner Hensley has seconded the motion to stop the Second Avenue project. Discussion.
Commissioner Hudson, are you asking that we stop the current project? You're not proposing we stop the idea of a library. You're proposing that this plan is stopped and that we, at a later date, discuss another plan to go forth with building a library in another manner.
I am proposing that we stop this project, but not to stop the conversation about a library. So that means that we've got to come back in 60, 90 days and have great. What are we going to do? Where was it going to go? How are we going to get there? How long is it going to take us to get there? I was trying to avoid this option this evening for us. In terms of
Understood.
either Plan B, continue to do the, do the best we can with what we've got on Third. We're still, that's the piece of it for me.
So what the motion effectively does is it stops the urban renewal spending on the project. The next question of whether we pursue Third Avenue or something else is a city council decision until you decide to fund it with urban renewal money, when it comes back to an urban renewal question, whether or not to fund it. So then what you're doing is punting this over to the city council, which is us, but stopping the spending of the money immediately.
I call for the question, Mr. Chair.
The question's been called for. All those in favor of the motion to stop the Second Avenue project immediately, we will take a roll call vote. Sue, could you call the roll?
Sure. Sorry, I wasn't ready for that.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Ryder,
Yes?
Commissioner Hensley,
Yes?
Commissioner Coleman,
No.
sorry, phone down. Chair Ayers,
No.
Commissioner Hodson,
Yes.
Commissioner Parker,
No.
Commissioner Dale.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is passed, a 4-3 vote to stop the project. I had one more question on my list of questions, and that was, what is the staff supposed to do and work on tomorrow morning? I think we have direction, is we will stop the projects, unwind the contracts.
So I have actually three clarifications.
Okay.
By stopping this project, and I just want to clarify, these are the things that you want us to go forth and do starting tomorrow. Cancel the contracts that we have in place. There'll be some payout for work that's been done. The approximately $1 million that has been spent or will have been encumbered. Return the donations of $600,000 plus. And also have our bond attorney, I assume, would be the one to notify our bond investors that the project has changed, which will create a whole lot of work for Haley.
Well, that's my question, is how do I amend the bond documents if we don't have a plan to spend the money?
That was my question, is how,
I mean,
is
that's an
there,
agreement you've made.
what's the
and-
timeline, or you would have to, I mean, is there any time frame in which you can notify them that there's going to be a change and then we'll submit the change, or do you know that yet? I mean, maybe there's questions that need to be asked to the bond attorney and how we go through this process, because clearly, I can't speak for the whole dais, but I believe that we are not done with this conversation. We want to build a library for this community. This plan was not the right plan from the beginning. I maintained that we need to do something different. So now we're going to have that discussion as what something different is. Do you know how much time we have to submit that change to the bonding attorney?
I would assume with this motion, I have to do specific notices saying that we're not doing what we say we're doing.
Okay.
As far as
Correct.
buying more time to define what we are doing, I have to ask council.
I was going to suggest that you should contact Jeanette tomorrow, our Urban Renewal Council, and inquire on,
And our bond.
The bond, she's our urban renewal attorney, but
Right.
we actually have bond counsel.
I understand, but I think I would start with
Right.
Jeanette, the
Shannon.
attorney, and get a roadmap from her from a legal basis of what you do. And that may be immediately contacting bond counsel, but I would start with the urban renewal attorney.
Perhaps a recommendation back from staff
Yeah.
would be appropriate.
Yes.
Can we, from what I understood, from the time that the attorney for the bonds discussed this matter before us, that we could use those funds for anything else within the urban renewal
Correct.
projects? Any projects that we have
That's correct.
that needs to be,
That's on the plan.
that's on the,
project list,
on the
The
project
original
list,
plan.
right?
But you still need to notify
That's right.
your
Correct.
investors.
And
Right,
as
right.
I recall, the bond counsel informed us that the investors have the right to call the bond if they choose not, if they don't agree with the source of monies, because they invested in the library and Sequoia Parkway. They did not invest in highway beautification, and it may not matter to them, but they have to be notified and they have an option. And if they call the bond, there's
But that's
penalties.
information we don't
That's
have now.
right.
So
The
why
attorneys.
don't we postpone this discussion until we actually have some concrete information, so we don't
Agreed.
unwind in public?
Before we continue, if I may, I'd like to just add a comment. A thank you to the people that have supported this project and to staff, and on behalf of staff that has been diligently working with these wonderful contractors for a year now. Thank you, and thank you very much publicly to the people that have supported the project and used their own time and their own resources to try to make this project successful. I think it's very unfortunate as a staff member that we got to this point. We'll certainly regroup and come back tomorrow, but a lot of effort has been put out.
Thanks,
and-
Amanda.
And I want to say thank you.
I agree, and for Troy and your organization, and Frank, you guys have been great to work with, and I really appreciate your summary of how we got to where we are from your standpoint today. Really brought back the memories of the last 4 years of what we've put into this, and you know, it may have been the wrong plan in some people's minds, but it was the best plan given the
It certainly was the best
options.
team.
Yeah.
It was. Rich, if I may, to those here who don't like the way the vote came out, I would remind them of my political mentor who said that democracy belongs to those who show up. And at the last election, these people showed up, and they had no opposition. So they at least stepped up and were willing to be on the council when no one else was. So this vote goes in the direction that I wish it had not. I apologize to the library supporters for being an inadequate vessel for your hopes and dreams, but I think the commission has spoken.
Okay.
Harris,
But
can I
yes.
also say something? As people know, I've been the library director here almost 4 years. When I was interviewed for this position, one of the things I was asked was how I would make a new library a reality. I would just like to go on the record as saying that since I've heard many comments tonight about, different perceptions about the Second Avenue site, that it was a compromise, that we, and I want to go on record and say, Second Avenue site was, and the plan that we've developed with the help of our architects, was going to be a wonderful 21st century state-of-the-art library that I believe would have won awards locally and potentially nationally. I think that the site was a good site. I think the plan we created was a good plan. And I think that the opportunity to repurpose one of our few historic buildings in downtown Canby was also a wonderful opportunity. I believe that the support we got from statewide funders, who must realize every capital project of this scope comes to them, and many do not get funded, is an indication of that. Like other staff, we will move forward. We will come to work tomorrow, but it is very unfortunate with all of the work that has come towards this project for the last 4 years, not only on my part, but other staff, the many volunteers that have been involved. It's a very unfortunate evening.
Thank you.
Amen.
Okay, we're going on next item on the agenda.
Could we have a short
Yes.
recess because Jamie, we need to,
Yes.
we had some
We're
equipment
going to take
issues.
5 minutes or so.
Okay, thank you.
We'll reconvene after our short recess. This is the July 10th, 2013 meeting, Canby Urban Renewal Agency, and we're getting a presentation on the Main Street Program Annual Report. Jamie?
Jamie Stickle, Main Street Manager. Canby Main Street's mission is to carry out the Canby Urban Renewal Plan to ensure economic vitality of the downtown commercial district, revitalize buildings and street environments, and enhance Canby's identity through promotion of downtown. National program is a 4-point approach that includes promotion, economic restructuring, organization, and design. Promotion creates a positive image that rekindles community pride and to improve consumer and investor confidence in our commercial district. Advertising, retail promotion, special events, and marketing campaigns help sell the image and promise of Main Street to the community and surrounding region. Most of you are familiar with our First Friday program. Brings businesses together to sometimes cross-promote. It's the first Friday of every month from 5 to 8 p.m. And so these are just a couple snaps of a cash mob at the place to be, First Friday flag in front of Wallflowers, Puddin' River Chocolates getting ready for their First Friday. We have several downtown events. Light the Night, which is in Waite Park, on the first Friday of December. Then we had the First Avenue grand opening and the Halloween Spooktacular Village. And the promotions committee meets to work on organizing these events. There have been several downtown promotions that are free for businesses to participate in to encourage them to find different ways to promote their business throughout the year. We did a Valentine's Day promotion where we had 19 businesses participate. Businesses ranged from services to gifts, food. It was a great promotion. In May, in the beginning of June, we worked with the Pioneer Century Ride to encourage a promotion with downtown business owners. Again, it was free to participate in. It featured a coupon program at the Clackamas County Event Center that was available by QR code. So it took us kind of into the technology world. We worked with the Clackamas County Tourism on that. Mother's Day promotion, again, free. The Mother's Day and Valentine's Day were promoted through the channels that Main Street has that are free for us to use. So our website, Facebook, and then our newsletter. And then back in September, we worked with the library on a promotion called Your Library Card is Gold. And that was, again, a coupon idea where if somebody presented their library card in one of the businesses that was participating, they could get either a discount or maybe something free, maybe either a percentage off or a dollar amount off. Several marketing materials, including an entertainment brochure, working on event center signage, website updates, social media updates, and then a weekly e-newsletter since September. Moving on to economic restructuring. Economic restructuring strengthens our community's existing economic assets while diversifying its economic base. This is accompanied by recruiting and expanding successful businesses to provide a balanced commercial mix, sharpening the competitiveness and merchandising skills of business owners and attracting new businesses that the market can support. The goal is to build a commercial district that responds to the needs of today's consumers. We work with marketing available space that is throughout the downtown area. Luckily for us, downtown Canby has very few openings for businesses. Not that we don't want new businesses to come, but that the businesses that we have here are standing the test of time. We update quarterly an available space inventory, and we do business recruitment to fill niches from the market study. We have blank broker sheets that are available. So if, for instance, a business doesn't, or a available property doesn't have a broker but wants to find another way to market their business, we can put that together for them. And then making the connection with property owners so that if we hear of somebody who wants to open a new business or wants to relocate, we can make that connection, start the conversation so that they can move forward. We provide business outreach with the Welcome to Canby packets, face-to-face business contact, topic-related outreach. So this could be anything from some of the promotions, but even the parking outreach that we've done and noted the parking task force. And one of the nice things I have to say is that we have partnered with the chamber to reach out with some of the businesses throughout the downtown that we heard might be struggling or might need some extra avenues to boost their business. And I think it's been a great partnership, and we're continuing to do that work now. In the last year, we've had 12 new businesses open. These are just a few, and up there is Salon L, the Backstop Grill, and Full Bloom Concepts. There are several more. Moving on to organization. Organization establishes consensus and cooperation by building partnerships among the various downtown stakeholders. By working toward the same goal, the Main Street program can provide effective, ongoing management and advocacy for our downtown. Through volunteer recruitment and collaboration with partners, the program can incorporate a wide range of perspectives into this effort. So in September of 2012, we held 2 Main Street kickoff meetings, and this was to get people who might be interested in learning a little bit more about the program, some people who wanted to volunteer. We have 2 active committees, the design committee and then the promotion committee. And then as the way it's kind of turned out is that we're having task forces for the organization and economic restructuring as needed. So again, that business outreach with working with the chamber and then some other community members on targeting business outreach falls into that category. Several community partnerships with Downtown Merchants, Chamber of Commerce, Canby Public Library, additional Clackamas County Main Street programs, our Flower Basket and Banner Program, Historic Review Board, and Arts Committee. Also with the Oregon Main Street Network, where there are quarterly meetings, networking and idea sharing opportunities, and then a Main Street listserv so that when we're not together, but we want to share ideas or have questions, we're able to do so. Design means getting Main Street into top physical shape and creating a safe, inviting environment. An appealing atmosphere created through attention to all of the visual elements conveys a positive message about the commercial district and what it has to offer. The design activities also include enhancing the district's physical appearance, education about design quality, and long-term planning. So everybody remembers when First Avenue looked like this. And now we have this. And so this was one of my first steps into, or one of the first projects I stepped into as the Main Street manager. And before I started, it felt like such a daunting task because I didn't know anything about construction. I didn't know that much about Canby. But this was really my first introduction to the business community with weekly face-to-face conversations, delivering information, sometimes answering questions or listening to the problems that were associated with the construction. I can't imagine a better project to step into because of now what it looks like and the great relationships with the downtown business community that I have.
You still have a hard hat and boots?
One of my good friends brought me a pink hard hat just in case I needed it. So I do have a hard hat if I need it. Our Highway 99 banners were recently hung. The banners used to say Canby between Pine all the way down to, I think, Cedar Street. But we took the banners and between the downtown core, which is Elm, Grant, and Ivy, hung these banners to try and attract some attention for the passerby-buyers who might just drive through our town on Highway 99. So they say taste, experience, mingle, shop, and play. And some of those words are words that we use like with our First Friday, so we're helping to brand our downtown as a place that you can do all of those great things. Our downtown banner program, this last time, 34 banners were chosen out of 100 received. It's a partnership with the high school, and then Laura Sattler from the Arts Association. Those banners that we received were from artists in the community and high school students. Everybody who submitted a banner did an incredible job. We had a really tough time paring it down. And so those banners are hung most of the year on 1st and 2nd Avenue. And then when it's flower time, we take them down, most of them down. So we can continue our partnership with Swan Island Dahlias, Canby Livability Coalition, again, the high school, and then this year, the Eccles Elementary Lunch Bunch, as well as, and I seem to have put a picture over this, the I said Canby Livability. And so this is a great project. The Swan Island Dahlias donates all of the dahlias that go in the planters on 2nd Avenue. Up until this year, the dahlias were from Grant all the way down to the cinema. This year they were just between Ivy and the cinema because of the proposed library project. And then our First and 2nd Avenue businesses, I should say, actually got together and planted between Ivy and Grant, which was a great effort on their part and really exciting to see as a citizen that people cared enough to put flowers out there with their own time and money. The Eccles Elementary Lunch Bunch and Canby Livability Coalition planted all of the flowers. The Canby High School actually grows our flower pots, and it's a project for them, and then we are able to do more with our flower program because it saves us tremendously cost-wise. Then moving on to facade improvements, between 2012 and 2013, Bricks and Minifigs, American Legion, Trinity Counseling, T-Line Design, Mike's Place, Jean's Home Electronics, Canby Clinic, Advantage Mortgage, and Anderson Fair Place all received facade improvements. Previous improvements included the Altenhofen Place, which is where Canby Quilts is, Ebner's Custom Meats, Countryside Living, Canby Station.
There was also the Canby Herald was the first.
Oh, and the Canby Herald. And then I only have one slide of what it looks like before and after because I will be doing a facade improvement update at the next urban renewal meeting. And so this is where Jean's Home Electronics used to be and now CH Accounting is. It was a great improvement. They changed the awning, they did some painting, and I think that we've seen downtown in lots of different places, whether people are participating with facade or just doing the work on their own, that a little bit of paint can go a long way. So key initiatives for next year: the public art program, wayfinding system, parking task force, increased events and promotions, and a lot more. That's what I have.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Jamie.
Jamie, you do a great job with the Main Street program. I had a question on the Halloween Spooktacular. There's been questions brought up about this next year and the haunted house haunted house piece and those kinds of things. And do we have? Are we in contact with them to be able to help them make sure that that goes off?
I have
Okay.
Yvonne Scott's information, so
Okay.
that you could contact her.
Yeah, I know that that's an aspect the high school has enjoyed doing and wanting to continue to do that, and so I think they were looking for a new spot to do that in.
Yeah. Yep. And I've talked to her once, and we'll continue those conversations. The neat thing about the Spooktacular Village is we got to leverage all of the different things that happen with the downtown area. You know, trick or treating was already going on. The haunted house was already going on. But then we added a parade, put together one flyer for the whole event, and we were able to pass that information out and market it as come downtown for all of this, as opposed to you come downtown for one thing and run into another. Instead of making it happen by happenstance, it's a deliberate attempt to bring people downtown, and we were we were so successful that some businesses said, you know, we ran out of candy, we had to buy more. And so there are ways to kind of amend that in the future that I've heard from the networking with other Oregon Main Street programs in the future, that will maybe pass some ideas out early on.
No, it's a good event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. And other comments, questions?
Actually, I want to thank Jamie for bringing up the flower pots. I drug my family down in 90-plus degree heat on Canby Livability Day, and we cleaned First Avenue. And we loved the flower pots and the flower baskets that were down there. So to have Jill Marie then round up a second group of volunteers and the businesses on First and Second Avenue that donated their time and money to purchase the flowers is much appreciated. And so I just kind of wanted to reiterate those genuine thanks, and a big shout out to our local businesses for banding together when we can get something done.
Right, absolutely. It's an incredible show of what Canby can do and what Canby chooses to do. You know, bound together with your neighbor, work on a project. It's great. It was awesome.
Rich, if I may, as Main Street liaison, I think we're real lucky to have Jamie, that your presentation was helpful for us to get a context that on a day-to-day basis we may see a banner here and a First Friday there, but when you put it all together, it is an impressive portfolio of what you've done. So thank you.
Thanь you.
Good job.
Thank you, Jamie.
I was thinking this morning about the clown being knocked down at my first urban renewal meeting. Greg Parker said to me that I reminded him of a clown that you could hit from back in the day when it was weighted and it would just pop back up. And then when I was putting together this presentation and I was thinking about all of the things that I've had the privilege to work on over the last year, and how the things that seemed so daunting, like the First Avenue construction, turned out to be such great projects, I thought that maybe he wasn't as far off as I originally thought he was.
One of the soccer popper moments that Jamie's had has been with some of our absentee owners. And we may want to talk about how, from a political standpoint, maybe the gravitas of the mayor, but of weighing in with some of these absentee landlords, because it's really reached a point now where we cannot seem to move ahead in some situations.
Okay.
So I think Jamie has come back time after time with a couple of them, but I think it may be time to bring out our linebacker and have him get to work here.
I will get with Jamie and we'll talk about that.
Any questions?
Okay. Thanks a lot, Jamie.
Thank you
Good
very
job.
much.
Thank you, Jamie.
And I guess I'll just hold the mic
Okay.
and do my Main Street report. There's an old saying, never give a stickler a microphone, because they won't put it down. And so then here's my...
Or a barrel of ink.
Or, exactly. So then here's my July update. As far as promotion goes, downtown Canby First Friday and Cash Mob, the July 5th program featured 5 businesses, including the newly opened Backstop Bar and Grill. First Friday features food, retail specials, drink specials, and it's a partnership within the businesses and the community. We have a little task force that's working now on trying to find ways to grow this program, bring businesses that aren't in the downtown who want to be part of the First Friday program here, make it more cost effective for businesses, provide them with different ideas on ways that they can expand their program or their promotion that isn't necessarily going to really ding them in the pocketbook. So the Cash Mob was postponed until August, and due to First Friday being so close to the 4th of July, and the Cash Mob business that was supposed to be for July that will be for August was aware of that and supported the change in date. The downtown draw will feature an article It was supposed to be the Place to Be Cafe. I think that we are, they have asked to postpone. They have some things in the works. So I will find another business very quickly to do the downtown draw. This effort helps to market downtown businesses, and it's featured on the Canby Main Street website, Facebook, and in the newsletter. It's an in-depth article that spotlights downtown businesses and gives them a better insight into gives people a better insight into the businesses and the people that run them. As far as organization goes, the Historic Review Board met on Monday, June 3rd. Committee members identified first steps from the CLG grant, which is Certified Local Government Grant, that they wanted to work on. We took a look at the 2009 reconnaissance level survey that was completed in Canby to identify which buildings would be the best to begin a plaque program. And we're still ironing out those ideas and what it would look like, but the plaque program will probably feature a historic picture, hopefully an interesting story or fun fact to entice people to come and maybe move around Canby and read up on all of the interesting and many historic buildings, which we were really surprised to see. We met on Monday, July 1st, to also iron out some of what our next meetings are going to look like. Meeting with the woman who's from, who at the state level organizes the CLG grant, and taking a walk around downtown, the downtown core, to see which of these historic buildings we really want to focus on. We were amazed at how many there are, even just on 1st and 2nd Avenue, that maybe we don't think as historic, but they are, and maybe they've been changed. So at least telling the story of where they came from. Everyone's favorite topic, parking. On 1st Avenue, the parking signs have been installed according to the 2012 parking study. And so one of the recommendations was to form a parking committee, which we are calling a parking task force, comprised of downtown business owners. An informational sheet was passed out to the downtown business owners on the program, and the parking committee will ensure that the city is responsive to the concerns regarding parking downtown. With the new hours set, more spaces should be available for patrons of downtown businesses. Long-term parking options have been identified for downtown business owners and their staff, and then a second flyer is going out to alert them of the meeting, whether or not they have RSVP'd, just so they have the second opportunity to attend. And that is, the meeting is set for Tuesday, July 16th at 6 p.m. at the community room in the police facility. Moving on to economic restructuring. The Canby Main Street has been working with the Chamber of Commerce to provide outreach to businesses that need some extra help. The two organizations are leveraging their assets to make sure that businesses are being met with, their needs discussed, and proper information given to them. The Chamber and the City met with Clackamas County Rapid Response Team, who has already begun to provide insights into the tools, most of them free, which is key for some of these business owners, that can help these businesses. While we've touched base with the businesses that have expressed help, we will continue to coordinate to provide long-term help. Moving on to design. Downtown walking tour. On the June 25th, the design committee met with Patty Webb, longtime McMinnville Main Street manager, to tour downtown Canby and identify next steps for the design committee. We had met with her once, and she came and she talked to a group of us about best practices, and when she learned we were doing this walking tour, she offered to come back. And we only had to give her cake and coffee. So we did so. Clint made sure that happened.
You baked the cake?
No, we went to Baxter.
She talked about the importance of effective signage and provided the committee with several examples in our community of what good signage is and then what we can work on. She explained that our Blade Sign program will be a great help in increasing pedestrian traffic throughout downtown Canby. And then the Arts Committee, Main Street is forming a new arts committee. This committee is going to fall under the design committee and work on bringing all forms of public art to downtown Canby. So whether that is theatrical art, sculptures, art in vacant spaces, although we don't have very many of them. They will provide recommendations on public art and identifying funding sources to install art through Canby. A detailed list of objectives will be published through different city channels, and the meeting will follow.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Questions, comments?
Just a comment on the plaque program. I don't know if they would call them plaques, but my family and I were walking down the streets of Oregon City over the weekend, and we went past one business, and forgive me for not remembering what the business is now, but all I was focused on was there was a picture in the window that it used to be an old Safeway store years back and had a little story about it, and I thought, we need to do that in Canby, and here we go. So kudos, Jamie. I love it. I mean, we could start with the Nails to See was a bank back in the day. So, I mean, there's a lot of rich history here that I think those little pictures would be a fun downtown Canby walking tour someday. So I love that idea.
I'm really also very encouraged by all people that volunteer because it takes a lot of time and effort. But our historic review board is just so excited to get going, and we were supposed to meet 2 to 4 times a year. We've already met twice, and so they're excited and they're engaged and they're saying, what can we do now to make this project work? And so it's very encouraging.
Your note says the next meeting's Monday, July 1st, which obviously is passed. So is there another, are they already scheduling another meeting?
Yeah, the next 2 months, the first Monday of the month, except September is a holiday, so we'll be the 9th. Thank you. Yes.
All right, very good. Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Renata, are you next up?
So, first, I'll do the economic development update, so the presentation will follow next. So we've been having great success in reaching out to our industrial property owners in the Canby Pioneer Industrial